I've just realized how shit my my logo for this channel is, and my banner for this channel. My Photoshop skills ain't that great, but they're horrible. Oh my god. See, now this is usually where I'd cue an intro as well, but I don't have an intro. I need to fix up, man. Okay, so let's go straight into these chapters. Nanatsu no Taizai 231 and 232. Pride versus Wrath and the Almighty versus the Greatest Evil. These chapters were dope. Alright, these chapters were sick. If you've read them, you know exactly how they went down. I think I've fixed up exactly how I'm going to start reviewing chapters now. I've gotten a little bit more used to it. So this whole review is going to be focused upon freaking exactly what went down. And oh my, it was so good. I hope you read. If you've not read the chapters, both of them, read them now and make sure you've read them properly, because we're going in this review. All right. So what happened? Let's first focus on Escanor. Escanor. Now, just for the people who didn't really understand all the way through both of the chapters, the first time we see Escanor's power level escalate, it was about to be high noon. It wasn't quite high noon. And then the next time we see his power level escalate, which is when he transforms into the One, which was badass, by the way. That was at high noon. It hits high noon, and then for that minute until 12:01, he becomes the One. So these chapters were so good. So like I said, Escanor, it's about to be high noon, and he's fighting Meliodas, and Meliodas beating the daylight out of Escanor. Right? He's kicking the shit out of him. So so for Escanor, it's about to be high noon, and he says to Meliodas, "You're indeed strong. That is, if you're not counting me." And I was like, "Yo, this guy." So yeah, and as we noticed through this chapter, and we've always noticed it before, but in this chapter it becomes more apparent. But the closer to noon it is, the larger Escanor becomes, the more muscular Escanor becomes, the bigger he actually becomes physically. Like legit, this guy becomes huge. At 114,000 his power level, my man is basically Hulk size. He's huge compared to me. I know Meliodas is only like 5 foot at best on a good day, but Escanor is absolutely massive. This guy is huge at 114,000 power level. And like I've mentioned before, I don't really like this concept of power levels within this specific manga, because nothing seems to make there's nothing to compare it to. I can't remember Meliodas' power level off the top of my head. I can't remember anybody's power level off the top of my head. And just seeing a number given to Escanor, it didn't mean anything. When they said 114,000, I was like, okay. But what usually gives away power levels are there to like instill fear in people, but because it doesn't have that much of an effect, it should just be the people around us. So the Sins, who all have high power levels anyway, they should be the ones shitting it, and then we should infer from them, oh shit, he must be really strong at this point. But yeah, at 114,000, Escanor is absolutely massive, and he still gets his ass beat. And then he kind of goes into this battle mode, and he's gone into his survival instinct. He's just lashing out at Meliodas, throwing a freaking cruel sun, attack after attack, and Meliodas full counters everything. Everything magical anyway. And then that fight ends up with both of them disarming each other. Meliodas breaks Escanor's hand, and he drops Rita, and Escanor manages to keep friggin' Lost Vein stuck in his gut, and then he just pulls it out and he flicks it away like it's a toothpick or something. So that was all sick. So then coming on to Meliodas, like I said before, Meliodas at the beginning was beating the daylights out of Escanor. When he stabs him through the gut and he lets out that Hellblaze, I was like, yo, shit. Escanor's insides must have been toasted. So then Escanor, like I said, went 114,000, but Meliodas still wrecks the shit out of him. He does like this tiger uppercut. Actually, for Meliodas, it might be more appropriate to say sure you can. And he just pummels Escanor at every turn. And then he tanks all of Escanor's attacks, even stops Rita one-handed while Escanor was still able to hold Rita. And actually, a good point that was mentioned in this chapter is Rita is many times heavier than Gideon, which is Diane's her sacred treasure. I can't remember. It was in one of the two chapters that was just released, but Rita is many times heavier than Gideon. So this is why we assume Meliodas was the one who was given the task of carrying Rita to Edinburgh, in the castle of Edinburgh, I think it was, in the Vampires of Edinburgh backstory. because he's the only one, I assume, who can carry Rita. If Diane can carry Gideon, but this is many times heavier than Gideon. Rita is many times heavier than Gideon. So I think even Diane would be struggling to lift Rita. So that's why Meliodas was the one who had to drag it across the ground. So Meliodas goes on to say that this is the most fun he's had since fighting his dear younger brother and his brethren. But which of his younger brothers is he talking about? Because I'm pretty sure he has two. He has Estarossa and Zeldorus. But just from the way that he refers to this younger brother of his, it must be Estarossa, because we know the order is Meliodas, Estarossa, and then Zeldorus. And Zeldorus, I think, would have been too young to actually spar Meliodas and put up a fight against him if age is anything to do with how a demon gains their abilities. Well, it's got to be, because any naturally aging entity will get stronger as they get older until they reach a certain point, unless Zeldorus is like some next level friggin' prodigy or some shit. But yeah, I think he must be talking about Estarossa, just because Estarossa would have been old enough to actually maybe put up a decent fight against Meliodas. He modeled himself after Meliodas because he really looked up to Meliodas. He had like this really tight emotional connection with Meliodas, so he would have tried his best against Meliodas, try and get him to see him in a better light, and just simply because Meliodas refers to him as dear younger brother, and he probably would have had a better connection with the one who had these emotional connections with Meliodas anyway. So that's who I think it was. It must have been Estarossa. So that was all cool and everything. And then we get the ominous voice in this chapter. So the ominous voice is someone, there's like a black bubble that comes up, and I think only Merlin hears it. I think only Merlin hears it, and it's this voice which says ha ha ha, the time is close, or something like that. And I'm thinking that's the Demon King for sure. That's got to be the Demon King, because we know every time Meliodas dies, the Demon King feeds off of some of his emotions and slowly revives, basically. But maybe with Meliodas in his commandment form, this is accelerated like exponentially and drastically. Maybe the Demon King is feeding off like freaking through a straw or some shit. But I'm thinking the Demon King, he's really close to being revived at this moment in time, because Meliodas has assumed his commandment form. So like I said, they both disarm each other, and Escanor got the shit beat out of him. But then, as we hit high noon, so it was about to be high noon when he hit 114,000, but then we hit high noon. It's like right on the mark, and for that minute, we're told by Merlin, when it hits high noon, for 1 minute, Escanor becomes the invincible incarnation of power. And you look at him, and he is huge. He's become like double Hulk size. He's absolutely massive. His muscles are like ripping through everything he's wearing, and he's got like this flaming, like his magic is kind of flaming off of him. It looks like his power is just flaming off of him. It looks really cool, and I assume that's kind of like his persona with the whole sun and everything. So, and then in that state, he body bags Meliodas. Meliodas uses this move called Divine 1000 Slices, which does nothing, or Divine 1000 Slices. And that does absolutely nothing to Escanor. He's just like not but an inch, and I was like, whoa, this guy. And you see the tattoo of the lion on his back, Pride, and you're just like, yo, this guy is too strong. So then, so Meliodas goes in with the Divine 1000 Slices. Contrastingly, Escanor's Divine Sword, so Meliodas' Divine 1000 Slices compared to Escanor's Divine Single Sword, Escanor. And Escanor's Divine Sword, the weird thing was, it was named after himself, so maybe in this state his pride is escalated as well, and the only weapon worthy of Escanor is himself, Escanor. So Escanor uses that, his Divine Sword, Escanor, and defeats Meliodas, which is just his hand, by the way. He just slices just a gash right across Meliodas' chest, from one shoulder to the one hip, opposite sides. And then he says the best line of the chapter was, he says, "As a god of demons, how does it feel to be looked down upon by a human?" And I was like, yo, this guy Escanor is legit too strong. And I mentioned it before, why I think Escanor was put into the seven deadly sins, but I'll come on to that in a bit. So yeah, that was really dope. So that's pretty much what happened throughout the whole chapter. I'm assuming you've all read it, which is why I've gone through it in such a it's not been in depth, but I assume you all know what I'm talking about. So yeah, the ominous voice was kind of, for me, that was the cliffhanger part of the chapter. It was, who was that? I think it was the Demon King, but let me know what you guys think and all that. So then, just to wrap it all up, I want to talk about was that Meliodas' most powerful form? Because everybody in the comment section, well, not everybody actually, the Meliodas fanboys were going ape. They were just like, oh, this is an ass pull. Escanor, what, for 1 minute he's invincible? This is bullshit. So then for the Meliodas fanboys, I've got a little bit of, I can lessen the blow a little bit, okay? And I don't mind either of them. I love both Escanor and Meliodas. I actually prefer Meliodas because I like his backstory, but we don't know Escanor's backstory, so I like the both of them just how they are. But Meliodas, let me just lessen the blow for you guys. You need to realize that he does not possess his commandment at this moment in time, and I don't think we know what his commandment ever did. I don't think we know that. So if he had his commandment, he would have most likely utilized that. The second thing is he's probably not done yet. We've seen Meliodas get dismembered, like he loses an arm. I think we've seen him get cut in half, and he's been able to recover and continue fighting from those injuries. So maybe he's not done yet. But then again, he was never attacked by friggin' Escanor in his the one state. So we don't know if he's actually done. Maybe he might be. I think he might be done because of the way the chapter ended. It would suggest that, you know, Meliodas is down and out, and then Elizabeth is running towards them. She's going to heal, hopefully heal Meliodas. And Escanor looks like he's in complete control of it. Like, people were saying, oh, is Escanor going to stop? Escanor looks like he's in complete control of his emotions, you know? He's just like, he's completely calm. He's just like, yeah, I've done my job. And I like the fact that Escanor at the beginning of this chapter was like, I think it's at the beginning of chapter 231, he was like, I've always wanted to check who was stronger, pride versus wrath. And I was like, yes. So Escanor is just really, really strong. So yeah, the way the chapters ended, it would suggest that Meliodas isn't going to get back up. But then with that whole Demon King issue of the ominous voice, we don't know what's going to go down next chapter, especially because the next chapter is called Danger. So maybe the Demon King comes back. Maybe Meliodas is like, yo, I'm still alive. I'm going to kick some ass. I'm hoping Meliodas isn't out for the count. But we have had 2-3 chapters now building up and getting to this fight and actually being part of this fight. So it would be starting to drag out if we had another chapter or another few chapters. But I wouldn't actually personally mind if we got to see Meliodas get back up and say, nope, I'm still going. So he's not in possession of his commandment. We don't know if he's done yet, and also he didn't go into his Enduro form. Now I know it would be most likely that Meliodas would not go into his Enduro form, just simply because that's you lose all form of cognition, all emotion, everything like that. So it's basically you're getting an immense amount of power, and you're basically committing suicide. So I doubt he'll go into his Enduro form, and simply because Meliodas, I think, has too much pride to assume his Enduro form just to kill a human. Now, the last point I want to make is, if the sins were recruited as a direct antithesis to the commandments, was Escanor recruited to take down Meliodas himself? So I think, my personal opinion is, Escanor was recruited to be a direct buffer to Meliodas. So Meliodas must have known, if I lose myself in my commandment form and I go assault form, the only person who can take me out is Escanor. So I think Escanor was recruited simply just to buffer Meliodas. If Meliodas goes apeshit, the only one that can take him out is Escanor. So Escanor, and how everyone else in the sins was recruited to take down the commandments specifically, I think Escanor was recruited just for the sole reason that he could take down Meliodas if it came down to it, like it did in this situation. So let me know what you guys thought. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. These chapters were really dope. So I'm done. It's about a 13-minute review, 14-minute review. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in a bit.